Welcome to this Footprints in American History. This is a special edition. Last episode, I talked to you about the story about Bonnie and Clyde. We visited 4 locations with them. We visited Bonnie's grave, we visited Clyde's grave, but we also saw the bank at Ponder, which was the bank that Clyde had robbed, got no money from. And in addition to that, we visited Clyde's boyhood home. Now, I learned a little bit of things with this. Even when I was there visiting the home last year, I remember thinking, why is this not designated a historical landmark? The house actually turned out to have a little bit of history involved with it. His father had run a filling station there. Now, it turned out that the house was originally located on a street called Muncie Avenue. His father had bought a plot of land on a street called Eagle Ford Road, that is now Singleton Drive in Dallas. His father bought it, he moved the house over there. He ran the filling station from here, and during his time there, he had to deal with his son being on this crime spree, in addition to Buck being part of this gang. Buck ended up getting killed a year before Clyde did. Clyde got killed in 1934 with Bonnie in an ambush to take them out by law enforcement. Buck had been killed a year before in Iowa. So the house still had some history, and they still had to deal with the effects of the fact that their son was a notorious person who had killed many people along with Bonnie. So 1934, they died. Fast forward 4 years later, the house catches fire. The family suspects that it's arson. In addition to that, his mother, Cummy, and his cousin were both shot standing in front of the house. They believed that this was a former member of the Barrow gang who was basically doing it for retribution. Incidentally, the house was firebombed 2 other times after that. They believed it was the same person, Buck Watley, who had been out of jail at the time, and they suspected that he was responsible with all of this. He was a former member of the Barrow gang, and they believed that it was some kind of retribution that they wanted to do on behalf of the Barrow gang. So here's this house, and I'm looking at it last year with my friend, and I kept asking my friend, because I looked at the condition of the house. It was not the best kept condition. And I kept asking him, okay, why is this not designated a historic landmark? To me, I felt it should have been a national historic landmark. Well, it turned out that in the city of Dallas for quite a while, it had been put forth that they should create this and designate this as a historic landmark for West Dallas. Some accusations were that because it was on a poor side of town, that it was basically an area that was not very well to do, that this was probably one of the reasons why it was more forgotten. However, the question still remains, why was this house not designated a landmark? I felt national, however, even a city landmark, put some money into the house, because this is a place where history happened. This was his father's house. He had lived there for some time. His sister still lived there. His mom had lived there. So the question became that, well, it turned out he'd gone before the city more than once, and for whatever reason, it just failed to pass muster, so it never got that historic designation. Now, the reason I was concerned, because if you look in the video that I did last week, I'm going to show you that footage again, you're going to see this huge apartment complex across the street from where this home is. And my concern was that how developers like to do, they like to develop, they want to make some money. And what happened was the person who owned the house back in April of 2022, he decided to have the house razed. Totally demolished it. And the reason was, his reasoning at least, was that he did not want to celebrate criminals who had committed murder. A lot of people said, look, we understand what you're saying, however, we are not out to celebrate, we want to commemorate where this history was. So my question would have been, why was this not turned into a museum? You could have charged admission to help pay for the renovation of a house, and then on top of that, just the fact that this was a historic place. It was a place where Clyde had lived, and it should have at least deserved a little bit of the consideration for that, and then turned into a museum, even if it had been done on a private enterprise basis. This has happened a lot. Disney wanted to open a shopping plaza, if I remember correctly, on the property where the first Manassas battlefield was in Virginia. So you had to look at stuff like this. I've seen so many other times where this has happened, and history gets destroyed because of a developer that's not really thinking about the historical significance of the area. Another great example is here in Clearwater, Florida. What happened was that you had where the train station was in downtown Clearwater. Now, obviously, you have times where you need to do the development, stuff like that. So they did. They raised that train station, and in its place where the train station was is now a 7-Eleven. Now, if you look at the 7-Eleven, it's made out of brick, and you can tell by looking at it, it has a little bit of the look of what it could have been a train station. However, there's no markings on the building whatsoever. There's no signs, nothing that tells you that this was a major center of transportation for the city of Clearwater in the early 1900s. So what I wanted to ask was, what can we do to protect buildings like this so that they're not demolished like Clyde's boyhood home was, or almost like what happened at First Manassas Battlefield, or you could also call it the Battle of Bull Run, depending on how you want to look at that battle. So the question would be, what can we do about preserving our history? People need to see it. We need to have museums where people be able to go to so that they are able to go in and see places where history took place and have a greater understanding of it. In the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please give us a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and also ring the bell. That'll give you notification of future videos. There's also my other channel called Just a Bit Outside. Take a look at it. It's going to be a little bit more international stories. I hope you guys had a great time enjoying the video, and in the meantime, fair winds and following seas.
Just a bit outside.